Everybody ready to vacuum the pool? Super easy, super relaxing. I actually enjoy vacuuming the pool. Hate to vacuum my house, love to vacuum the pool. Let's talk about a couple of things that you can use early season. When we were talking about the filtration, we said we don't want you to introduce a lot of organics into the filter, leaves, worms, all that kind of stuff. You can vacuum to waste. We talked about the waste setting on there. There's a couple other products you can use. One is called a leaf bagger. This is pretty cool. So let's say that you've taken that cover off the pool really early, or the cover blew off the pool, and you got to get a lot of debris out of there. So this is not even going to go through your filter. This runs independently. You're going to hook it up to your pole, standard pole, and then you're going to hook this end up to your garden hose and drive this around the bottom using the pole. The force of the water from the garden hose end is going to pick up all those leaves and everything and plume them up into this basket. Take it off, dump it, reuse it. Great thing to use early season. Another great thing we love is a leaf rake. Doesn't really look like a rake at all, but what it is a skimmer that billows out into a net. So again, on a standard pole, you can get down to the bottom, scoop all those leaves out of there, dump them, use it again. Great thing to get stuff off the bottom. We talked about a skimmer on the pool, right? This is a skimmer. It's actually a through-the-wall skimmer, and then this is a top skimmer. So you can see we've already used this for a lot of cotton wooden things. Standard pole, once a week, just come out, strain that stuff off the top. Okay? Anything you can keep out of the filter is going to make that sand running longer and keep it cleaner longer. So a couple of great things to use. Vacuuming the pool. For an above ground, you have a couple of choices for vacuum heads. There's a few different designs that we have out here. This is pretty easy too. Going to go onto a standard pole. So in conjunction with vacuuming, as I get this ready, you also want to brush the walls. Remember we talked about, when we talked about the chemicals, that algae is a plant, and plants grow during the day in the sunshine, right? So we want to make sure, actually I'm not going to use this one, we want to make sure that those roots are loose, because you really can't kill the algae well unless it's suspended in the water. So before you even vacuum, grab your brush and put your brush on a pole. You can't really vacuum the sides of your above ground pool, and it's difficult to vacuum the sides of an in-ground pool. So get your brush on the pole, and then just walk around the pool, take that brush, and let the pole do the work for you. You don't have to scrub really hard, and we don't want you to scrub holes into the pool liner either. So just up and down, just loosen those up. Remember, there's algae in the water whether you see it or not, so we just want to kind of loosen it up and get it moving. For us here in our parking lot, we have a lot of dust and dirt from the trucks that come in and out, so sometimes the dust settles on the bottom and it's kind of hard to vacuum up, so I'm going to loosen up some of it a little bit. Easy just to brush it. Remember, let the pole do the work for you, just hand over hand. Okay? Make sure you let everything settle for a minute or two before you vacuum too. I have the fortune of having two poles here, so it makes it a little easier. So, vacuum head is on the pole. These poles are extendable. And the way you do that is, this is called a cam. You're going to loosen the cam, and then you can have the pole extend or go in as far, or pull out as far as you'd like. So I'm just going to do it a little bit. Tighten up your cam. And then we want to attach the vacuum hose to the vacuum head. Pretty easy, because on the vacuum hose, it's got a cuff on the end, it's called. And it actually says on the end here, connect to vac head, so you'll know which end that you're actually going to connect to. So I'm going to snap this on here. Make sure you have a nice snug fit on there. You certainly don't want that to fall off while it's in the pool, otherwise you're going to have to get your little leaf rake out and pull it out of there. Okay, I'm going to pull the grass off. And then we're going to put the whole thing in there. Make sure you hold on to the end of the pole when you get to it. This hose, by the way, is a little bit long for this pool, but we use it for all our pools in the pool park, so it takes me a second to get everything in here. A little tangly, not a big deal. Alright, so what we're going to do is really just kind of get a suction going here, or a siphon. So we're going to get all the air out of the hose, and the best way to fill this hose up with water and get all the air out is to use the force of the water from the return jet. Remember we talked about your return jet in the last segment? We talked about ripples having to be off the top of the water. The other thing I want you to notice too is put your hand in front of that return jet. If that pressure is strong enough to push your hand away, then you've got good circulation. Everything is hooked up well. There's no air in the lines. If for some reason this wasn't very strong, then probably you have too much pressure built up in that sand filter. Excuse me. Somebody's chainsawing right now. That's awesome. Hopefully you can still hear me. Anyways, take the end of your vacuum hose, put it in front of your return jet, and then watch your vacuum. Look what's happening in that hose. So your vac head is going to lift up here. Bubbles are going to come out. And then once it settles back down on the ground, which it has, it doesn't take very long, then you know you've gotten all the air out of the lines. So I'm going to have Zach help me here by holding on to this end. You know what we did bring out, Zach, was a vacuum plate, but that's okay. We'll explain what it is. So now there's a couple ways you can vacuum here and hook this up through your skimmer. There is something called a vacuum plate. For an above ground pool, it's a little plate that sits on top. It's got a little bit of a U-shaped elbow in there that you would then bring the vacuum hose through the front over your weir door. I'll show you here really quick. You would bring it up here, see where the end of my vac hose is, and then you would hook it up to the vacuum plate. But since I didn't bring one, and it's not my favorite way to vacuum anyways, I'm going to pull this back out, make sure the air stays out of this. I want to show you what I do. Hang on, I'm going to turn this pump off again so you can hear me. Make sure all the air stays out of there. Hold on a bit for me, would you? So what I like to do is go right straight through the skimmer. So I'm going to take the basket right out of here. Perfect. And I'm going to keep this underwater still. So I can either go one of two ways. I like to go straight through the front here again. As long as your water level is up high enough, you're okay. You can actually go right through that skimmer hole. Okay, so I'm going to park that right in there. And watch. Turn that back on. Hopefully it's going to stay in there. There we go. And now that's sucking that right down in there. So we're going to be able to vacuum, and we're going to go straight down into the pump and right into the sand. Remember, if we were on the waste setting, we're vacuuming to waste. That means we're bypassing the sand. Everything's going out. But right now, I'm going to go straight through there. If for some reason your water level wasn't high enough and you were sucking air through there maybe, then you could cup that hose, come right over the wall and right down into the skimmer too. But this is my favorite way to vacuum. Oopsie, I'll grab those in a second. I'll come back and get this pull. So now all you're going to do, again, let the pull do the work for you. You're just going to walk this back and forth. It'll probably be hard for you to see on the video. There is a little debris in the center. I'm going to walk this out. And we're picking up the debris from the center. Walk it back. It doesn't take long. Like I said, it's really relaxing. A good routine for this Saturday morning with a cup of coffee. Saturday night with a glass of Jameson. Whatever you prefer. But once a week, good rule of thumb, just get out, brush the walls a little bit, vacuum a little bit. The more you can keep the water circulating, the cleaner it's going to be. The more you can keep the kids in the pool swimming, keep that water stirred up that way, the cleaner it's going to be. Remember, 24/7 is best for keeping your water clean. If you're only going to run it half of the day, make sure you run it during the day, run with the sun, because we want to make sure that stays clean and that algae doesn't grow in the summertime or in the sunshine. Another thing to remember too is solar blankets really impede circulation. We're not big fans of solar blankets. A great product to use is a liquid solar blanket. In addition, that you put in once a week, depending on the size of your pool. They're marked on the side so you know how much to add. It's one line for 10,000 gallons. This is an alcohol solution that will slowly dissipate over a week, but it's like putting a blanket on your pool at night to keeping the heat in. So great thing to use instead of that. We talked about testing your water. We talked about chemicals. Great way to get your water test results, or the best results, is to take that strip and put it right in front of that return jet. If you're going to bring us a sample bottle, take that cap off, put your thumb over the top, get right in front of that return jet. That's going to be your strongest reading. And then we talked about the lube tube. You should have some of that for O-rings. Always make sure you keep Teflon tape on hand, clamps on hand. Good thing too. So I'm going to say that I'm done vacuuming. going to have Zach hold onto that pole again for me. Pump goes off. Hose is going to come out. So we're going to take all this stuff out. Your baskets are cleaned. At this point, this is when you backwash and rinse. Get that water level back up to where it needs to be. If for some reason you had to draw out a little bit more water, remember halfway up that skimmer door, now it's time to add your chemicals. That's it. That's how easy it is to vacuum. If you have any questions, feel free to call us, 392-7711. We're happy to help you. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.